G'day guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I have yet another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This is an action film from Indonesia, Indonesian language English subs, released in 2014, directed by Gareth Evans, and this film is called The Raid 2. Now The Raid 2 takes off from where The Raid 1 left off. It's a continuation. You've got Rama, who was the main character in the first film, who is now in police custody. So the policeman that is talking to him is part of a very secretive squad that specialise in bringing down crooked cops within the Jakarta region. So this cop is saying that there are too many crooked cops that are in very high places and they're running things a little bit too well. So this cop wants Rama to go undercover for him in order to try and bring down the cops that are involved in a heavy crime syndicate. So Rama initially says, I don't want to do this, I just want to be with my family. But then the cop says that people that he upset in the first film are now coming after his family. So his family are not safe, and the only way they're going to be safe is if the police protect them. And the other way that the police are going to protect him is if Rama decides to do this for them. So Rama, left with no other option, decides yes, he will become an undercover officer and he will try and infiltrate this syndicate. So he goes to prison, which is what he has to do, to befriend the Crime Syndicate boss's son. Now this son is roughly the same age as Rama and he is very, very brutal. So this seems like the best way in, and he gets cozy with this boss's son, and he ends up gaining the trust of this guy. So now Rama is a major player in the syndicate, and he takes it upon himself to try and bring down the syndicate and at the same time uncover the crooked cops so he can get back to his family once and for all. So whether or not he can achieve this is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Raid 2. I was really hyped to see this film, but I had a lot of hesitations. I was a little bit hesitant to see the film based on the fact that I didn't want it to ruin the first experience. Now, The Raid number 1 was absolutely phenomenal. Set the benchmark as far as modern day martial arts are concerned, and I thought it was a little bit different. You know, the little bit of storyline at the start, then non-stop balls to the wall action, not able to catch your breath, and the choreography and the fight scenes were absolutely unbelievable. So, I thought this film had the potential for a few problems. Now, number 1, the problem of deja vu, which is very present in a lot of sequels. It actually seems like the curse of the sequel, in that you've got a really popular first film and that the second films are made just to make money off the name. So it's basically deja vu, recycling the same idea. And it's ruined a lot of films for me. You know, The Hangover is a prime example. I love the first one, but the second and third one were just basically same story in a different setting. And that to me is an insult to the audience. It's not making movies for the right reasons. And then you've got the Final Destination series. Now, I wasn't really a big fan of the first one, but I liked the concept of it. It was different. And then the second, third, fourth, fifth one, they were all the same. And I thought, this is very repetitive, very dull, and it's just ruined the whole thing that the first one has created. So I really didn't want that to happen in The Raid, because I love the first film dearly. And so I was hesitant to watch this because I was really worried. Now, other films such as The Expendables, number 1 and 2 were great. Number 3, a really watered down, dull sort of film because it wants to appeal to the masses. So money does get in the way of potentially great franchises. So The Raid 2, all of those hesitations I came in with, I was really hoping that it wouldn't fall under those, curses, but thankfully it doesn't. Now, this is an absolutely brilliant film. I think it's better than the first one. It's a continuation from the first one, and it actually feels like a continuation. It feels like a sequel. It feels like a movie that was made, not just for the money. It was a movie made because this director loves martial art movies, and he is creating something that makes it worthwhile, and that's very respectful for the fans. He's not making a movie that's watered down for the masses. This is much more violent than the first film, and it shows that, yes, this is going to be a very popular film, and he doesn't have to water it down to make it really popular. Now that to me is a sign of a director who's very self-aware, very self-confident, and he has belief in what he is doing. And so The Raid 2, yes, it does have the very strong action sequences that are very reminiscent of the first one, and that's ultimately what you have to keep, because the core idea of The Raid is fantastic fight scenes. So if you're not going to have the fight scenes, you're not going to have The Raid. So there are moments in the first film that are borrowed in the second film, obviously, but the second film is much more of a story-based film, where you've got the gangsters, you've got the workings of a syndicate, and while the story is generic, it still feels like it's trying something new, that it's not just copying the first one, and that to me was a sign of respect, and that's why I enjoyed it as much as I did. So Gareth Evans, he really is a fantastic director. The choreography and the fight scenes were unbelievable. If I've got one criticism of the film, which is not a big criticism, is the fact that the fight sequences take over a little bit too much. So when the fight sequences happen, because it's a very stop-start film, because it's intertwining action with story, when the story moments happen, you're really impatient for the next action scene to happen. So you're thinking, okay, come on, hurry up. I want to get to the next scene of violence. So when the characters are talking, they're doing their thing, you think to yourself, well, this is integral to the story, but the main focus is the fighting. Now, the storyline takes a back seat, so when the storyline's happening, yes, it's interesting to some degree, but it just feels like it's just a stopgap. You just want to get to the next fight scene as soon as possible. The fight scenes were never repetitive, which is the case of the first film. I thought Gareth Evans shows a lot of imagination within the fight scenes. Each fight scene is better than the other, and it all adds up to an unforgettable fight scene right at the end inside a kitchen, which I thought was just a phenomenal way to finish off what was another phenomenal film from Gareth Evans. So Rama is the main character. The reason why I like the Raid films as much as I do is because Rama is a strong character. He's not so much an action hero, he's more of he's a human hero. He feels like a real person. He's doing all these bad things for the greatness of his family. So you feel that he has a lot of love inside him and that he's torn up by what he has to do. The start of the film, he doesn't want to do this. The start of the other film, he didn't necessarily want to do this. But he has to do it, and he showcases his amazing fighting ability to try and get out of it, to try and just be with his family. And because you root for him, you want him to get to his family, and you feel a lot of threat along the way. So that just works really well. I thought the villains in this film were a lot better than the first one. The villains are very memorable. And so yeah, apart from the moments, of being impatient, I thought the Raid 2 was a worthy addition to the Raid 1. I think the Raid 3 will be even better, hopefully. And it just shows that not all directors are after money, that some directors are after making films for the passion of films, not just, to make a quick buck. So that was unfortunate with the Expendables, unfortunate with the Hangover, unfortunate with the Final Destination series. But, for this film, thankfully Gareth Evans has just amped it up, made something a lot better, and it's just continuing to grow, and it's snowballing to be what I will say are going to be modern day classics of the martial arts genre. So overall, for the Raid 2, I'm going to give it 5 stars. I thought this was absolutely brilliant. The fight sequences were phenomenal. It's very, very violent, so be careful, but it's not gratuitous. It doesn't linger along. And I actually felt that, yeah, the negative of the storyline was there, but the storyline was very generic, so you kind of have a handle of how things are going to unfold. So although you're impatient for the next one, you're not missing out on too much, because I felt that, as I said, it doesn't get you with twists and turns so much. So it's not a complicated story, and it feels very self-aware by the fact that it's not complicating things, so you can enjoy the fight scene. And when the fight scene happens and it finishes, you can kind of have a break, catch your breath a little bit until the next one comes up. So you're kind of preparing yourself. And if you miss a few things along the way, it doesn't really matter, because, as I said, it's a generic sort of story, but it does play to its advantage. So I absolutely love the Raid 2. I'm sure you guys are going to as well. I thought, yeah, modern day martial arts classics as far as I'm concerned. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.